Ndị Igbo ekene m unu. Asị m ka nke echukwelu ya zelu. Anyị si ndụ mmiri ndụ azụ. Mmiri atara m azụ anwụra. Asa dịrị mma na eke, dịrị mma na orie, fọzara mma na afọ, fọzara mma na nkwọ, ụzọ ahịa anọ nke ndị Igbo ji biri. Asị na ya dịrị n'Igbo na mma o. Ise, ise, ise. Dịka o si dị ka agbapụ na ya ọsọ igosi na ya bụ ife anyị ji maka ya wee bịa. Na tupu anyị aga n'igosi na ya bụ ife, ọ bụla nke a bụ ụbọchị izu gị. Ị na-ejete afọ channel aya n'Igbo akwụkwọ ka baro ka like and subscribe o. Tinyekwa kọmentị, share ekwe ya, tụsa ya bụ ozi ka ụmụnne anyị dị n'ebe dị iche iche wee na ya bụ ife na-eme n'obodo a. Dịka o si dị, ihe wetara unu tata bụ nnukwu update dị oke mkpa. Mma nchọ ka onye ọbụla misie ya. Mma nchọ ka ị ga ya bụ ife, ị ga-esi ya bụ ife wetara unu gbasa maka ya bụ ife na-eme n'obodo anyị nọ n'ime ya. And nwere ndị Igbo na-azọ drọpụra ya on comment n'ihe a nwanne anyị nwoke kwuru n'iru akwụkwọ dị oke mkpa ka anyị mara ife iche n'ụdị nke gị. All right, over to you, sir.
That speech, he was recognizing that it is the children that are desiring for a better nation that are protesting. In paragraph 5, he's already saying that it is by some politicians that have clear political agenda. What a contradiction. In paragraph 6, the president said, in his own words, for people who want to take undue advantage of this situation to threaten a section of the country, be warned, the law will catch up with you. There is no place for ethnic bigotry in a Nigeria we seek to build. This same president is harboring as a media aide a man who, after 2023, said Igbos are alien.
What's going on from your perspective?
Sincerely speaking, before the protest started, we held a lot of press conference, stakeholder engagement, community engagement to talk to our people, because we know in the north, the moment something starts up, some criminal element will hijack it. And we know how Mr. President has been trying his best to see that he transformed Nigeria and to fulfill his renewal agenda. You see, in the whole world, there have never been a peaceful protest. It started as a peaceful protest, but
well,
those...
That's highly debatable, but go ahead. We'll get the point.
There have never been a peaceful protest all over the world.
No,
it started as a peaceful protest, then the criminal element behind coming to hijack it.
There have been several peaceful protests in different parts of the world.
Maybe
what you're saying is that, well, chances are that when people protest, you always have a few elements who will either obstruct traffic, but to the extent of looting and vandalizing property, not always the case across the world.
And that's why we said no to protest at the initial stage. You have a genuine agitations that you want to end bad governance. It is the right of all Nigerians to protest and to tell the president what they want. But I felt it would be unfair to the president since he came on board that he has not been trying his best to deliver on the mandate given to him by Nigerians. Protests have never been the best way to address issues in Nigeria. We can see how the NSAS protest started. People entered it, a lot of criminals start shooting and start killing. So we felt protests can never, and it has been never. Look at today. When we say our fears have been in play now, when we say no to protest, we knew what will eventually follow.
Have you heard what people say about the president's speech? How some thought that it appeared surprising, shocking to people. They thought it was out of touch, that he didn't address the main concerns that the protesters wanted him to address.
The main concern of the protesters is for Mr. President to bring back subsidy, because they felt there is hunger in the country. As a subsidy has not been helpful. We knew subsidy is essential and very necessary, because by subsidizing a lot of things, you see an ordinary man can get. But look at it today. Petroleum is sold as high as 1,000 naira today. So there is inflation in food prices. There is inflation in...
What do you mean 1,000 naira? Which...
There are places that you sell at black market, you see 1,000 naira. The only place you see them selling fuel is the NNPC and government control price filling stations. Is that the problem of the Mr. President? The marketers are to be blamed as well.
All right, Dr. Okonkwo, I mean, there are several dynamics to this. Yes, the protest rang out. Then the president addressed the country. And then more reaction concerning, wait a minute, this is not all we're talking about here. Would you rather speak or not? But if it's this way, they thought big question marks. What do you think of all of this?
Well, I want to first of all thank my colleague here. He is actually doing the job for me. I would have loved to listen to him. First of all, Sheikh Husani at the presidential villa told President Tinubu, you are the father of protests. If going by his submission that there has never been any peaceful protest, he is actually saying that President Tinubu has never been any peaceful man. By his own submission, not mine. Although I respectfully disagree with him, because I know that they unleashed the greatest protests against this country. And in all conscience, I would not say that they were extremely violent. When they protested against Goodluck Jonathan because of a 20 naira increase in fuel, today they said purportedly that they have removed fuel subsidy that landed the price of fuel from 195 naira to, according to him again, 1,000 naira.
In black markets?
No, even in real market. In Lagos, 1,200 naira. And the funny thing is that it's not even available. People have to spend hours in the filling station to pay 900 naira, and it's not even available. What a government. Now, the people are protesting for hunger and hardship, for deprivation, for degradation. And the president was compelled to speak. I wish they did not compel him. Because if I were a media aide, I would have preferred there was no speech at all. Because a bad speech is worse than no speech at all.
What was wrong with that speech for you?
First and foremost, it was contradictory, it was inflammatory, it was annoying, it was disheartening. I'll give you an example. Paragraph 2 of that speech. He was recognizing that it is the children that are desiring for a better nation that are protesting. In paragraph 5, he's already saying that it is by some politicians that have clear political agenda. What a contradiction. In paragraph 6, the president said, in his own words, for people who want to take undue advantage of this situation to threaten a section of the country, be warned, the law will catch up with you. There is no place for ethnic bigotry in a Nigeria we seek to build. This same president is harboring as a media aide a man who, after 2023, said Igbos are aliens in Yoruba land. He said Igbos should never interfere with the police of Lagos State. That 2023 should be the last time that the Igbos should interfere in the police of Lagos State. And in 2027, it should not repeat itself again. It was on his Twitter space, and I'm talking about Bayo Onanuga. If the president is sincere in what he said in paragraph 6 of his speech, the first thing he would have done is to sack Bayo Onanuga. And in addition to the speech being empty and very annoying, it was even leaked before the day. And people were making caricature of the president when he was talking. They were reading with him and even reading ahead of his own speech. And he has such level of incompetence in the media aid, and he did not take them out. And give another example. For now, we have 48 ministers going to 49. These children, what are they asking for? They are simply saying, sir, this fuel subsidy removal, this depreciation of Naira, this electricity tariff, they are unsustainable, and I agree with them.
So is it to say that the fact that he even spoke and decided to at least try and address the concerns of Nigerians counts for nothing because you think that the speech is not good enough?
No. It is because, I'm sorry to say this, because I don't have better way to express it. I don't even know whether he understands or he understood what he said. Because he said this is the broadcast by the president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces on nationwide protest. Then what is it about the nationwide protest that he addressed? was telling us he gave 570 billion naira to governors. And the first time he started dishing out these billions to governors was when they had cases in tribunal. And you knew what happened to those billions.
But Dr. Kuso, I mean, I'm sure that it's not the first time you'll be hearing reactions to the president's speech. So within the party, is it that they're all on the same page saying, look, irrespective of what people think, the party still thinks, or you, for instance, now, since you're here with us, that the speech for you is still good enough?
To me, the speech is good enough. Because if you look at the majority of those agitating for end bad governance are youths. So you have to address them to tell them his plans for them and what he has done to them so far. Majority of the youths used in this protest are uninformed youths. Why do I say they are uninformed? Mr. President have given enough funds to the state government, to the state governors. It is expected that the governors will also empower the local government chairman. That's why you have 3 tiers of government. The grassroots are the ones feeling the hits of this hardship, you are saying.
But now that we have that Supreme Court decision about the local governments, they're not supposed to interfere with the local governments. So that's...
Has it been implemented yet?
Mr. Kuso,
They've given time...
you've used a phrase here today.
Yeah.
You said you that were used. What do you mean by that?
They were the ones protesting. You say underage youths.
Yes, used by who?
Used by the people that organize the protest. This is a faceless protest leaders. We don't know who are the leaders.
Did you see we understand the looting and we saw a lot of hoodlums and things like that happening. But did you see regular Nigerians protesting as well?
Most of these people you see, they are using they are not Nigerians.
Listen, you can't say
Most
that.
of them are not Nigerians.
Listen, did you see in any way from day one, did you see actual Nigerians protesting?
Most of ours they are youths. And most of them, as I said, they are not Nigerians. A good loving and rightful Nigerian will not destroy the nation.
We said, that's the trick I keep hearing a lot of people make. You try to lump actual protesters with looters. That's not the case, is it?
The first day you saw.
Are there people who are genuine protesters and then they are looters? Can you acknowledge that at least?
Initially, we thought they were genuine protesters. But we knew the outcome would be the criminal elements would take over. And that's what's happening. So look at how they are looting.
Doesn't that also speak? We've seen all of that.
You can't imagine in Kano State, the NCC all built for the youths to train them, to have fun, has been destroyed. Which of the good loving citizens will destroy things like that?
Some people who
you can see someone sitting on top of a traffic light breaking it for what?
Some people who criticize this train of thought that you're going with state categorically, and I want you to answer this, that the idea that a protest can be hijacked doesn't mean that people should not protest. It sounds lazy on the part of government if they keep saying because looters can come and hijack a protest, people shouldn't come out to protest. Do you think that maybe some evolving has to happen in the way protests are managed in Nigeria so that people can exercise their right to protest and then the looters and hoodlums will not be allowed to hijack it? Do you think this is something government can do?
It can happen. And that's why I'm saying when they have leaders, the leaders should come up. If you listen to Mr. President's speech, he says it's open to dialogue. So we feel the best way to get this done is through dialogue. The leaders will have seek for Mr. President's attention to sit down and tell him, okay, this is what we want. If you want cutting governance, okay, address bring out your agitations, sit down with Mr. President and address better and protest because we knew the aftermath of the protest. And that is what's happening today. Look at it yesterday, protesters turning on holding Russian flags. What does that have to do with end bad governance protest?
You said they are not Nigerians. Who are they?
They are boys from the neighboring countries. They are coming in. Look at it in Nigeria. People at the age of between 18 to 30 are the majority. You get? And we have a system, which I must say this clearly. Our immigration system is very flawed. Our own borders are very porous that anybody can come in. So the amount of people we have in the country is most of them are foreigners coming in from Niger, from Chad, just to have a livelihood. It is the duty of immigration to have the real numbers and data of those foreigners. So if you look at them, most of them are not Nigerians from their behaviors.
I want you to be able to get Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo to speak on this, because it does seem like there's a gap in understanding as to what has happened and what should have happened. One of the things that many people complained about with the president's speech was that he didn't talk about the cost of governance at all throughout the speech. If you had his ear, what would you have asked him? Because that cost of governance goes to some of the short-term demands of all Nigerians. If you had his ear, what would you have told him to say about the cost of governance in that speech?
If I had his ear, I'll first of all tell Mr. President that he should recognize that the power of the people is superior to the people in power, and that he should show respect to Nigerians. I would have told him, what case do you think you will make for hunger and hardship when you have 48 ministers? Bogus, when you could have had only 37, according to the Constitution. I would tell Mr. President, why would you have to spend 21 billion naira on the house of your vice president? Mr. President, why give billions to your wife when she has even said in front of a church that we don't need it because we're already blessed with money? Mr. President, why give 6 billion naira to National Assembly to build car park when you are giving loan to students? Why don't you give grants to the students? Mr. President, you have the greatest number of out-of-school children in the north. They are going to be a problem to you. I am really surprised that my colleague here is talking about a porous border for a president that has the largest bureaucracy, who could not even police our border. You see, his statement is as contradictory and as confusing as the speech of the president, because I'm sitting here trying to make out the meaning of what he's saying, and at the end of the day, I will get thoroughly confused. So the issue here is, if I'm with the president, I would say cut down. When they removed fuel subsidy, the first day they did it, I came out and shouted, no. Be very careful in coming out of this subsidy. And the reason is because it will be unsustainable. There are certain things you ought to have done before contemplating removing subsidy. How can you be talking about palliative? Let me tell you the truth. Any subsidy you remove and you talk about palliative is a very wrong decision, because subsidy in itself is a palliative that is actually treating the condition. Palliative of sharing money is relieving the symptoms without dealing with the condition. But palliative as subsidy, as low electricity tariff, they are treating the condition. So I would tell this, Mr. President, you ought not to remove this subsidy if you intend to share money to your ministers and to everybody. Restore this subsidy so that you will make sure that supply is there. Use all this money you're borrowing. Fix the refineries. They borrowed almost $18 billion in a year. Where will that kind of a thing sustain your economy? Depreciated naira by 300%. Let me tell you, they are saying 70,000 minimum wage. 70,000 minimum wage at the cost of 1,600 naira is $44. 30,000 minimum wage, which he met at the price of 500 naira to $1, is $60. Which one is more? So this government has depreciated the standard of living of people, and what he should do is to ensure productivity, give incentives to productivity. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has ably stated the problem they are going through. Frequent policy flip-flop, high interest rates, hyperinflation, astronomical energy costs, toxic environment to operate, multiple charges. You don't have these things and you want productivity? No, that is hypocrisy.
Mr. Kuso, do you think that the cost of governance, you belong to this party, is the cost of governance astronomically high in your view?
It is high.
Okay.
I will be sincere, it is high. Because as I said, the number of ministers is something.
May Allah bless you.
No, it's not all about politics always. There are sometimes we need to face the reality. And my take on this is the president we know is trying his best to cut down the cost of governance. He's somebody that listens very well, but at this point in time, he has time to think about cutting down governance, and he have time to think about the protest.
In what ways do you think he should cut down governance right now?
The best way to cut down governance is, as he earlier said, cut down the numbers of ministers at this point in time. Once you cut down the number of ministers, you get to where you're going to. That is a cut of governance. So also you can see, he said there shouldn't be any foreign trip for any government official for now. It's also the cutting down of cost of governance. So what I want from the people is, it's not easy to build a structure. You know, removing subsidy comes with a lot of norms. In Nigeria today, we've been enjoying subsidy for a very long time. But before he came on board, you can see there were a lot of agitations that Mr. President, subsidy have to go. We've been living a fake life and we have to come back to reality. So if the government is complaining of the amount of money is paying to few individuals at the interest of 400 and something million Nigerians, so we felt taking off subsidy is the best thing to do. But the time he cut off subsidy, he said it before campaign, that subsidy have to go. So that means Mr. President have been so realistic in his before even he emerges that subsidy has been a cause than a blessing to Nigeria.
So you do admit that there is hardship in the country?
There is hardship. It's biting everywhere.
Okay. So is it possible that your earlier position, where you said the protest was a plan to do a change of government, is it possible that you may have been a little wrong there?
I'm not wrong. What I said is there are better ways of dialoguing than protest. Protest, when you know the beginning of a protest, you don't know the end of the protest. And our fear in the initial protest that we were against protest is what is happening now. Criminal elements will take advantage of this and loot. What does government facility have to do with the hardship? You go to the government facility, you vandalize it, you remove the socket, you remove the roof. What does it have to do with the hardship?
Mr. Okonkwo, what do you think about the concerns that the security agencies have consistently expressed about this protest?
The president said he's prepared to protect the fundamental rights of Nigerians. And he accepted that protest is one of them. Rather than marshalling out the security forces to protect the protesters, they are sponsoring protest against protesters. What an irony. You said you don't want protest, and your own protest commenced before the protesters' own. And you don't want protest. You see, somebody that has gotten so used to protest that is the father of protest will even protest against protesters.
But he said that he protested, but he's not violent. It was a peaceful protest. And so they frown at violent protest and looting of private property.
First of all, I want to disagree respectfully with my colleague that the people that are sponsoring this protest are more false. I know of a senior colleague, Ebun Olu Adegboro Wasan. He wrote a letter to the president, owning up to, I am the lawyer to these people, take it back movement. It's not about force. The senior advocate of Nigeria.
No, he's not a protester.
I know of
he's a lawyer.
Good. I'm coming. I know of one young chap, brilliant, Damilere Adenola. He's the director of mobilization of the Take It Back movement. He has been interviewed. As a matter of fact, when Adeboruwa says stop, he says sorry. I don't know what he's talking about. I know of Femi Aborishade, who said he would never be a slave in his country, protesting. I know of a Showore who even went further to say revolution now, and he's standing by his word. I know of the children of Nigeria, whom the president has acknowledged that they are desiring a better and more progressive country. They are protesting. Protest is secured in our constitution. I know of a Wole Soyinka that has disagreed with this government on how they tackled protesters. These protesters warned, if you kill one of our own, we are going to change it. From end bad governance to Tinubu must go. You have to be sentimentally attached to the energy exhibited by these children. You have to respect them. When I was in the university, I protested from first year to this final year, and I paid the price for it. I graduated by November of 1989 rather than June. And we went for the second batch of NYSC. I recall on one occasion we did not eat in the morning, especially when I entered university first, following them. Didn't know the strategies. I nearly died, on the road. During June 12th, a lot of people didn't know that. I was on the Pemu Bridge.
Did you vandalize any property?
No, I did not, because I had enough. Vandalism is a criminal offense. Once you get to that level, you've crossed the mark. And the full wrath of law should be dealt with you. Because you are a thief, you are not a protester. Protest, like I always say, is the antithesis to the thesis that brings synthesis. Protest is necessary in a democracy to ensure that the leaders are put on their toes. And you must make sure that you are seeking for a change that is definable.
He suggests that there should be questions for governors as well. You subscribe to that?
When a man who is a president knows that there are questions about governor, why give them the money?
The law requires they do that.
No, the law is talking about allocation. It is the duty of the House of Assembly. But all those subsidies that is given to the governors, why?
What could have been done with it?
When you give governors their partisan, you don't expect a governor of PDP to remember LP, where I belong as a member.
No,
Labour Party, when they are sharing it.
But once
you don't expect the APC.
Once you're in that office,
yes,
as a governor,
yes,
your party ceases.
I agree with you. You're talking about what it ought to be, not what it is. And that is why a leader should factor in what it is, not what it ought to be. So, if we were in that paradise, we would be talking about rigging election. If we were in that paradise, we would be where we are today, that a nation that is producing oil, the sixth largest producer of oil, is refining 100% of its oil outside Nigeria.
Well, we've gone past that now. We are now where the question is, where is the money?
No, the money has been blown, has been stolen. It is not me. It is Senator Ndume that said this government is government of kakistocrats and kleptocrats, meaning government by the worst set of us and compulsive thieves. So these thieves have stolen the money.
Dr. Kuso, in places like...
They should be jailed.
In places like Kaduna, Kano, Bauchi, you're from the north.
I'm from the north, yeah.
We know this dynamic. When you saw those hoodlums and looters, what came to your mind as someone who is from the north, who's a member of this ruling party? When you're looking at that number of young men, we call them looters and hoodlums, but they're Nigerians. Many of them are.
Majority of them are not.
Many of them are.
The majority of them are not.
But they are in this country.
Yeah.
They have a governor in the states where they reside. What came to your mind about what these governors have done to their states?
You see, we have three tiers of government: federal, state, and local. Mr. President, constitutionally, as part of what was saved from subsidy, gave it to the governors. Go and talk to your people. Go and develop your state. Most of this money that we are giving to them, if not when Minister of Information said it, nobody knew such amount of money went to them. They thought they never expect a protest, they will be hit with this kind of protest.
Some of them were actually published. The amount of money the governors were given.
But nobody knew until, most people don't know. That's why I say most of people are uninformed. Most people don't look at newspapers, okay, what is happening today? But the moment this process was on, and the Minister of Information went to break it and said 570 billion was given to the governor of bomb. Everyone said, okay, where is the money? What have they done with it? Mr. President have done his own. And as my colleague said here is, as you said, it is a constitutional right that he must give them that money. What did they do with the money?
So, if the question is, what have they done with the money? Now, the president, they are the ruling party.
Yeah.
You have a lot of members of the APC as governors. They don't have you don't have meetings among yourselves saying, listen, we've given you this money, so go and tell the people what you've done with it. Can that happen?
If you look at it yesterday, when the issue of how much the contract came up, the governor of Zamfara made a press conference that he collected 49 billion naira. He told his people. And if you go to Zamfara, you see where he's spending the money.
Has any APC governor said anything? He is in PDP.
Yeah.
So what's going on with the party APC? So wait. Does that mean that it is the APC governors who are frustrating this plan for the president?
How many governors have come to speak? It's not about APC or PDP.
No.
It's all about the governors. Look at Zulu. Anything that comes Zulu will say, okay, we're giving 20 truck of rice to share, and I've shared, everyone have seen it. So it's not about PDP or APC.
No, but
it's all about the mindset.
If you're,
it's all about the governor in person.
If the question is coming from you,
yeah,
and I think we've heard the president also say the same thing, that the governors have got to fulfill certain things. So as a ruling party, shouldn't they lead by example?
You know,
and say, this is how much we have, this is what we're doing with it. Those kind of examples.
You see, Nigerians today shift all the blame to Mr. President because of what? He removed subsidy. Of course, they have taken off subsidy. But who are the major benefactors of the subsidy removal? The government, because the money went to them. So it's not all about APC, PDP. It's all about mindset. Go to my state, for instance. You can see the governor working.
What state?
Niger State.
Niger State.
If you go to, when he came on board, he brought all about New Niger. He has been working. Since he came on board, contractors have been on site. So you've seen that for yourself.
I want to give you a perspective. We're seeing a lot of, in places where we say the governor is working, they've built flyovers, bridges, roads. Human capital development is where the issue is for many people who are looking at the situation of this country, especially in northern Nigeria. What kind of human capital development have your governors in the north done, let's say in the past 1 year?
Most of them encourage people to go to farm. We are blessed with abundant farms. Go to farm. We can feed the nation. Go to KB State and go to the estate in the morning. You see small boys going to the farm farming. It's because they are getting the support from the government. But there are some youths that want to make quick money. All they after is, let's share the money. Bring the money, let's share it. So in the north, we are blessed with abundant lands to venture into agriculture. 5 states from the north can feed the nation. But are the youths willing to go to the farm? Or they also want to occupy political offices? And that is what they do to them. A governor will appoint 500 SAs, 600 SSAs, paying them a huge amount of salaries. Then the youth will start thinking, okay, me, I'm contented. If you start talking to the governor, you're not doing the right thing, they'll say, why are you blasting my principle? So I believe at this point in time, we need to go back to drawing board. Let's keep party differences. Let's come with ideas. Mr. President said,
can that actually
he's open to dialogue.
Can your party actually say, let's keep party differences?
We know what Swajibula Tinubu is.
Mr. Gogo, what do you think about way forward and what to do?
You know, the president made that speech and he did not say anything about security. It is not fertilizer or lack of it that is preventing food from coming out from the north. It is security. Because we have been feeding ourselves without fertilizer. We have more than 923,000 square kilometers of arable land. He did not tell you that in Niger State, in some local governments, people pay taxes now and levies to terrorists. Maybe he did not say that. If it is fertilizer,
I'm disagreeing with him.
Good.
In the other 25 local governments, we have only 2 local governments that were under the control of bandits before this government administration came up. And when the governor came up, the governor tried his best. Go to Niger today. People have gone back to their homes. The issue of insecurity is improved.
Yes, I will forgive him for interrupting. But what I'm saying is that 5 states in northern Nigeria can feed Africa. Ukraine is fighting a superpower nation. Yet it has surplus to share grains to African countries, including Nigeria. Unfortunately, what the government should do, security and welfare of the people, they are the primary responsibility of government. Saying that it is foreigners that are protesting is actually indicting yourself. Why don't you go and pick the foreigners and deport them? What evidence does he have? You have immigration people that take salaries every day, and you're saying it's foreigners.
Okay, let's wind down now.
You see, as my brother said here, he said vandalism is something else. And what leads to that vandalism? It is the protest. And that's why he said at this point in time, at this material time, there is no cause for protest. Come for dialogue.
No, but there are two things. There are 2 things. People have a right to protest.
It's a constitutional
right. But if anybody goes in the guise of protesting and you loot, you vandalize, you will be arrested because that's a criminal offense. So he says the authorities should be able to draw the line and not in the guise of trying to stop vandalism, say protest is illegal.
Shouldn't happen.
That's why I said, most of the people that are protesting, as you said, they are people that doesn't know what they are even protesting for. Most of those small boys, they just came out to protest, to join numbers. They don't know why they are protesting.
Did they just come out or where they
were mobilized?
That's what usually happens?
That is what happens when you start protesting. People mobilize. So about numbers.
No, I'm not talking about protests. I'm talking about both politically and otherwise. Is that like a general scenario? Up north?
Politicians that lost election, politicians that worked for the government and not compensated, they can mobilize just to paint the government black.
Oh, so even within the party, they can.
Of course, there are people that feel aggrieved. They say, okay, let's show our grievances from behind. Then they mobilize against the government. There are people, as Fintri said yesterday, I don't want to say yesterday, that protesters are those that initiated this are those that are aggrieved. I can agree with him. Mm-hmm. There are ways you show your grievances. If I'm not being compensated, okay, let me use this opportunity of protest to hit the government. That's why we said, when protest starts, you don't differentiate from the genuine protester and the criminal protester.
But you should.
How do you do that?
The president protested.
That's what security agencies are for. That's what it's for. Like Chamberlain said, and I need you to hear that clearly. Mm-hmm. You cannot, because of the fear of being hijacked, of a protest being hijacked, then say people cannot exercise their right to protest. You can't do that. The job of security is to think outside the box. Protest management. So that protest management is the conversation right now, because this was exactly what happened with EndSARS.
But we've seen what these people were doing. The protesters were throwing stones on them, but they realized they didn't retaliate because they felt it is their right to protest.
So, quickly from both of you, before we go, in less than 30 seconds, what would you want to see happen moving forward?
I just want to advise restraining using the word to warn. When protests happened in Kenya, Ruto thought he was the big guy. And when he was overwhelmed, he sacked all his cabinet and went to church and started crying. When protests happened in Bangladesh, the Iron Lady, who was there for 20 years, neglected them and disrespected them. Today she's in exile. In Nigeria, this government should learn to respect its people. They should not allow protests to happen. Prevention is better than cure.
Okay. And by a edekonu si wepụta oge unu igekwa ya bụ ife nnukwu ozi dị oke mkpa eji maka ya wee bịa n'iru akwụkwọ na Igbo Media bụ ebe anyị si wee na-wetara unu ya bụ nnukwu ozi dị oke mkpa gbasịta maka ihe na-eme n'obodo anyị nọ n'ime ya, ana gbasịta maka nwere onwe ndị Igbo na-azọ, ana gbasịta maka Maazị Nnamdi Kanu Ladies. Dịka ị nụrụ ihe nwanne anyị nwoke kwuru n'iru akwụkwọ, ka efi were ikwu n'ụdị nke gị asị gị kwuo ka efi were ikwu maka na otu aka o jedebe njọ ọ ya adịkwanụ mma. Ọgwụ na ọtụ ụmụnne m, achọrọ m kwunu tinyere anyị alụ nkwu na ife unu chere n'iru akwụkwọ ikwucha ya bụ ife kapa arụsie ya kwurụta ụmụnne anyị ndị ọzọ ntị darụrụ nne na ụmụnne m bụ mụ na-ege ntị. Anyị na-ekene ndị nnekunu si na-esoyere anyị esiri ngwa nke mesịa n'ụmụ Igbo.